4 monitors: the Alienware AW2521H, the Acer Predator X25, the Asus PG259QM, and the MSI Oculus NXG253R. All of them have an IPS 1080p 360Hz AU Optronics panel, and all of them include G-Sync. I hope you didn't expect this to be some epic comparison, because if you did, then you clearly didn't read the title. It wasn't clickbait. All 4 of these monitors are basically the same monitor with a different design. In fact, you know what? If you just want to know which one to buy, just get the MSI because it has a square base instead of legs, and it has the cheapest MSRP of $600, giving you a $100 cheaper MSRP than the next cheapest monitor in this comparison. And if the MSI isn't the cheapest where you live, then buy whatever has the lowest price or the best design. That's how similar these 4 are, to the point where it doesn't even matter which one you get. And I don't even think it's these companies' fault. I've never seen monitors from a particular brand lose features until I started reviewing these 360Hz monitors. And there's only 2 culprits that are stifling these companies' abilities to distinguish themselves from one another: either AU Optronics or Nvidia. Now, I doubt it's AU Optronics, because there were a lot of 240Hz esports focused monitors from different brands that had plenty of distinguishable differences. This started when monitors began including Nvidia's G-Sync scaler, which makes me believe that Nvidia is the reason why these monitors lost features compared to their non-Nvidia based 240Hz counterparts. I'll elaborate as we go on. For now, just know that I'll be focusing a lot on the MSI in terms of design and whatnot, because I haven't made a video with it yet. If you want to see dedicated reviews on the Alienware, Acer, and Asus, there are videos on my channel. Now, let's start with the response times. For those that don't know what response times are, it's how fast the pixels can transition from one color to the next. The lower the response times, the more clear a moving image is. The higher the response times, the more blurry it is. All 4 monitors include 3 overdrive levels, which, for the uninitiated, means that you can boost the voltage to the pixels to make the image more clear if it's not clear enough for you. It also includes Nvidia's ULMB, which reduces motion blur even more. Starting at 360Hz with the lowest overdrive setting, all monitors perform very similar, well, except for the Acer. You could make the case that the Alienware is slightly better than the rest, because it is, but because the image is so zoomed in and because the difference in reality is so small, this isn't a difference that you'll actually notice with your eyes. It's more of a technical victory. If we increase the overdrive levels to setting 2, there's less trailing, but you begin to see some overshoot, which is this slight blue trail after the ghost. This overshoot becomes more evident when you go to the highest overdrive setting. Now, if you were to ask me which one I'd use, I'd go with the second setting, because there's less overshoot than the first setting, at least for most monitors, and so little overshoot that it won't bother me. The same applies at 240Hz and lower. Basically, it just scales and has worse response times the lower refresh rate you go. But when you enable Nvidia's ULMB, which only works between 120 and 240Hz, this is what you get. While Alex the Alien is super clear, this isn't a setting I'd recommend using for a few reasons. 1, the amount of overshoot is super hideous in games. And 2, all of these monitors go from a peak brightness of about 425 nits down to 215 nits, cut in half like a Fruit Ninja fruit. Also, do you see any difference between these 4 monitors? I don't. This is just one of the few things I'm referring to when I say these monitors are all the same. Whether it's ULMB or overdrive, these differences are negligible. The same goes for the gaming experience. Because they all use the same panel, you can expect input lag to be the same. According to RTings, input lag for the Alienware, Acer, and Asus fall around 1.6 to 2.2 milliseconds with ULMB off, and around 6 milliseconds with ULMB on. This is insanely fast. They didn't have any figures on the MSI, but expect it to be around that as well. What this means is that whichever monitor you choose, you can rest assured knowing that you're going to have the quickest panel in the market. Now, these are clearly marketed towards esports pros and aspiring pros, so don't expect to be immersed, because with a screen size of 25 inches, a standard IPS panel, and a 1080p resolution, these aren't offering anything in terms of immersion. They also don't offer much in terms of gaming features. Sure, some of them have built-in crosshairs, but if you're playing an esports title like Siege or CSGO, you want to have gaming features that work well, such as a black equalizer. Unfortunately, all of them perform just as horribly as each other. Some are better than others, but that's like saying you're proud of being in 18th place instead of 20th place. Starting with the MSI with the black equalizer off, this is how it looks, and this is how it looks with its highest setting. Not impressive. For some context, this is how the MSI MAG251RX looks. Not only is the scene brighter, but the shadows are mostly gone. And to show you how similar this is to the other 360Hz monitors, this is the Alienware, the Acer, and the Asus. They all suck. Some of them include a color vibrance feature which helps distinguish enemies that can blend in with their background, but not all of the monitors include it, just the Acer and the Asus. Color performance was also similar between all 4 monitors. Now, if you want to see these charts, you can pause because I'm going to somewhat rapid fire them. Number 1. They all have the same gamut coverage and include no wide gamut support. This will be fine for gamers and general users, but not for professional photo or video editors. And let's be real, you shouldn't be using this for professional work anyways. Number 2, they all have similar out-of-the-box color accuracy with a delta E of about 3.5, except for the Asus, which is nearly 5. This means that as long as you're not doing any professional color work on any of these, which again, you shouldn't be doing in the first place, then this is a non-issue. This is perfectly fine for general users who just want a good enough experience to watch YouTube, Netflix, and whatnot. This is basically standard performance for your typical IPS monitor. If you plan on doing color work with these monitors' limited gamut coverage, you can calibrate all of them to reproduce colors perfectly. The out-of-the-box grayscale performance between all of them are technically pretty bad, having an average delta E range anywhere between 5 and 6. Again, this is only bad for professionals and is fine for the majority of consumers. And as usual, calibrating the monitors will fix these inaccuracies. 4. All of them have similar peak brightnesses, minimum brightness, backlight strobing brightness, and equally disappointing contrast ratios because of the lack of any real local dimming tech or different panel tech such as OLED or VA, though this is fine and standard for these types of monitors. In terms of viewing angles, they're good. Because it has an IPS panel, you won't have to worry about angle discoloration, color shifting, or high contrast effects. It gets slightly darker, but only slightly. If you want to download my color profiles for these monitors, I'll leave links in the video description. Just keep in mind that these were made for my displays, so it might not fix all of your inaccuracies. Lastly, we have the OSD and design. Starting with the OSD, you have a navigation nipple with customizable shortcuts. Pushing the nipple in accesses the full OSD. Starting with the game menu, you have things like the color presets, black equalizer, overdrive, refresh rate so you can see what refresh rate your PC or console is running on, alarm clock, and game assist, which is your crosshair. Then we have G-Sync processor, which has your G-Sync esports mode, which is basically another color preset specifically for gaming, NVIDIA's reflex latency analyzer, ULMB, and some backlight modes, which I found useless. Next is the image settings, which has your typical settings like brightness, contrast, color temps, gamma, and low blue light. Then Navigate, which lets you adjust your shortcuts, and settings, which has things like language, transparency, OSD timeout, and RGB on or off. Now, I was really hoping for the Oculix to break the trend of most monitors losing support for software OSDs, but this is no different than the others. MSI's gaming OSD doesn't work on this monitor, which is a damn shame. Lastly, there's the build and design. The MSI is my favorite one for one simple reason: the base. I have no idea why Alienware, Asus, and Acer think it's a good idea to put legs on a 360Hz esports focused monitor. You need all the desk space you can get, and with a footprint as big as what the legs take up, you can't move your mouse freely without hitting the stupid legs. Not long ago, I was watching an esports tournament for I think it was Valorant, and I forgot which monitors the pros were using specifically, but it was one of the 3 aforementioned ones. And I found it funny that the monitors were mounted using a monitor arm because you can't move the mouse where it needs to be. Guess which monitor doesn't need to deal with that? Rant aside, this monitor's rear is hideous, in my opinion. It's all plastic but has this brushed metal look to it, trying to make it look more premium than it actually is. That, or it was just a design decision. Also, I don't know why the OSD calls this RGB LED because it's just G. Fortunately, you're not looking at the back of the monitor most of the time. You're looking at the front, which has thin bezels and a somewhat chunky chin. So overall, I don't expect the back of the monitor to be that big of a problem for most or some people. There are some nice features such as a wire routing hole, 100 by 100 mounting holes, and full ranges of motion like tilt, height, swivel, and pivot. And lastly, it has 2 HDMI 2.0 ports, 1 DisplayPort 1.4 port, a headphone jack, and a USB upstream port to power the 3 USB 3.2 Gen 1 Type A ports on the side of the monitor. Okay, this is going to be a shorter than normal conclusion because by now you probably understand why I said these monitors are very similar to each other. Their OSD, gaming performance, color performance, and gaming features perform virtually the same. And I probably should have expected that, being that they all use the same panel with the same limiting scaler from Nvidia. And it sucks that Nvidia, allegedly, is holding these monitors back from fighting for first place. Like I mentioned in the dedicated Acer review, this space is getting boring. And after reviewing this might just be my last 360Hz monitor review, because if something new comes out and it has the same panel with the same features from Nvidia, then just buy the cheapest one. And right now, this is the cheapest one. And if you don't like the MSI simply because of the design, then that's fine, buy whichever one you want, because for the first time ever, I think, this is the easiest choice consumers can make. Do I want a 360Hz monitor with the best design? Do I want the monitor with a square base or legs? Or do I want the cheapest one? You decide. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you disliked it, dislike it. If you want to check out any of the stuff I featured in this video, I'll leave links in the video description. Have a great day, every day. Peace.